now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Rewriters Room, where we rewrite and redefine storylines in WWE that we think could be written better, a certain character that we like that we hope more for, or something that we just think is stupid. I'm Armand. I am still the leader of the Money in the Bank contract watch for Otis. I'm currently in some legal troubles right now. But hey, by the time you guys hear this, Clash of Champions will be over, and who knows what'll happen, fellas. How y'all doing, fellas?
What's good? What's good? Is young old CC in the building, aspiring philosopher. Man, I'm not the leader any highs. I'm everybody's turning into a villain in my life. I'm hitting that point in age or whatever, so I'm letting the highs go, whatever. But man, good luck with the Otis Hive, man. I fell off a little while ago. I was there for maybe 2 weeks or whatever, and I was like, somebody's more dedicated than me has to handle this.
What's up, it's Channing. As someone who is like a founding member of Baron Corbin Hive, I understand the plight of wanting your person to cash in the bank, Money in the Bank briefcase successfully. I understand that anxiety that gives you, just like being so afraid that John Cena is going to ruin your guys' moment.
That really is just like a threat
to the best of us. In the back end, it's like, what if John Cena just shows up and decides he wants to do it?
Facts. Anytime I don't see him on TV for a long time doing like other things, if he's not pushing some product or in some movie, I'm just like, oh man, who is he gonna like?
Who's he not gonna put over now?
Yeah, and this is a special episode for us, our first guest. We thought no one better to bring than one of the head honchos over at RNC, the platform that we do put this podcast on under the A Show Network. Justin Davis, J5, how you doing, my brother?
It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful morning in Long Beach, California. And of course, I start my week talking wrestling. In my week talking wrestling, this is going to be a long month for me. So this is where it begins.
There we go. So you want to just talk briefly about the channel RNC, how it got started, why you wanted to start it, and just the experience so far?
I can't think of a better example than the actual show that I'm on right now is giving, young African-American people who are left of center or not always into the same thing as everyone else is, a chance to speak out and talk about what they want to do, and just giving them the platform and the bandwidth to do so. I think, we all know that I'm into a whole bunch of stuff, and, Emil's into a whole bunch of stuff, and, everybody in the team is into a whole bunch of different things. So we wanted to tell an authentic story. And I think that's where, I've been so successful in life, and I want to spread the wealth, so to speak, with writers and creators and, visionaries that want to do the same thing. Like, I think I started this with the idea, like, I know that I can't keep you like in this forever, but at least let me try and give you a launching pad to whatever you want to do. So, I can't think of like a better example than what, Armand, you're starting. You already had Stay Busy already. So, this is just an extension of that, and, just giving you an opportunity to do that. So RNC started as a group chat with, where I put together a bunch of amazing individuals, and it's grown into a platform where I, once again, bring in a mix of a bunch of different interesting individuals. And it's so funny to see everyone interplay, like on Twitter and social media, like everyone kind of knows each other. And it's like, I feel proud that I was kind of the one that opened that door and said, okay, like, this guy does this, and you should probably talk to him, and you should probably do that. So, that's all I want to, that's really all I wanted to do with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for it. You guys can hear J5 on the A Show. Like I said, you can hear him on Late Fees, Ramen Talk, and of course, check out all of our other shows. We got the War Report,
the G Show this month, all month. I'm watching one horror movie a day, all October. So that's coming back this month. I'm like, I'm gonna die. My fiance is gonna kill me. So
yeah. Somehow you still find time to play a bunch of Tony Hawk.
Oh, of course. Well, that's funny because like that's and then it's like Crash Bandicoot 4 comes out this week. So it's like I gotta talk to Mark about how we doing content for that. So like, it's so funny that it's like I have my hands on so many different things. Like I like to call myself the LeBron of the house. My fiance rolls her fucking eyes at that, but it's all true. It's all true.
Well, LeBron needs his AD, and that's a great transition. Actually, we see you got your Lakers shirt on. By the time people hear this, it'll be a few days. But the Lakers just did advance to the NBA Finals, first time since 2010. LeBron is back in the finals, his 9th NBA Finals trip in the last 10 years, which is crazy. For us, I wanted to talk about if we had to think of a WWE superstar from the past, present, that we would liken LeBron James to, who and why? And we can start with you, J5.
Who could I – you put me on the spot. Go. I want to see what everyone else picks.
Okay.
That I can no, you put me on the spot. I still got to think about that one.
Okay. Channing is an Ohio guy. So what's
I have thoughts. First off, LeBron, hashtag my GOAT, hashtag just a kid from Akron. I think the best way to look at this is to kind of think of LeBron in phases because he's a force of nature. So you have LeBron come out of Cleveland. That's Keith Lee. That's your upcomer. You think you can just do anything you want. You put him in the main event right away. He's got a cool intro, a little corny, but like, hey, he's just a kid. He's just trying to figure it out. Just got to the main roster, playing with the big boys. So you love to see it. You see the potential. He might get to the finals, but it's not going to be there for long. But you know that he's going to be up there.
Okay.
Then LeBron goes to Miami. He becomes Brock Lesnar. He's inevitable. He shows up. He wins. It's like not really fair. Even like physically speaking, he's like not the same as all the other people on the court. He's just kind of embraced that role as the heel.
Mm-hmm.
Comes back to Cleveland. That's Roman Reigns. That's your like baby face who like people want to act like he's not the GOAT because there's just new other shinier things. There's like a Finn Balor out in San Francisco, or there's like in OKC. There's a Rollins or a Bray Wyatt. But when you come home to Roman. Just keep you warm at night. That's your bread. You can fuck around with like hummus and pita chips, but like you want a loaf of bread when you come home. That's how you make sandwiches. And then now that LeBron is in LA, which actually speaks to your next question about factions, I think he's basically Randy Orton. Like he's just like an institution where it's like, oh yeah, like there's all this other cool stuff, but like Randy Orton's won the title like 13 times. Why shouldn't he just win it again? Like he's Randy Orton. Like he's done everything. He's got all the accolades. He's got all the history, all like longevity. And like I said, you'll focus on a Giannis because it's new and it's exciting and it's fun. But like at the end of the day, who's in the main event? It's the Viper. Randy Orton.
There it is.
Damn, bro.
It's hard to follow that.
I gotta talk after that. Why you do that? That was amazing, huh? You know what? I was it's funny, Randy Orton is actually on my list for like a few other reasons, but I'm gonna just pick a quick one off the top of my head, more of a feeling thing, and I'm gonna say The Rock. And the reason I'm gonna say that is because like The Rock's never gonna be in those conversations when they talk about the people who have the most championships or whatever. And a lot of times when they're talking about those legends, they do mention The Rock, but a lot of the reason is the same reason that I think like LeBron is legendary in real life, which is that he transcends like what that thing is that he's in. Like we know LeBron is a basketball player or whatever, but the way we actually know LeBron and think about him is not only just because of basketball. It's because of so many other things that he's become, involved with or whatever, which is the same as The Rock, where like we still call him The Rock. That's his wrestling name, but the guy's name is Dwayne Johnson. Like he's out here like Dwayne Johnson, but we still have that The Rock name because we understand that, wow, this is like where he like made his bread, like this is where he like actually made his bread, and that's where he made his first impact. He spread so much further than that, and he's just like, he's a person who's also like an idea now. It's so weird. So like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just today we even saw him say, I support Kamala, I support Biden, and like that's a huge moment. I was telling my friend Eric, he was just like, I'm not really sure celebrities move the needle, and I was like, you're right, but The Rock is so much more than a celebrity. He is like, we've grown up with him. He's like a super celebrity. He's never, ever, ever spoke anything about politics before in his life. And today for him to do that, we usually have like an over 40% non-voter thing. Like that could sway someone who loves his movies, because then that means it's like, oh damn, like he, you might want to say whatever you want to say about why he did it. Obviously he caught the Rona a month ago and he's probably like, oh shit, we need this motherfucker out of office. But like it all, like to me, it all makes sense. And that's absolutely right. Like he's probably the most influential and biggest superstar on the planet. Like bar none. Like he's bigger than any of these Marvel motherfuckers. Like that's him. So
I actually found out about it on MSNBC. I was just watching MSNBC just like to get some updates on something, like a story I had heard about. And then they came on, they were saying like, when we come from break, we're going to talk about how The Rock just endorsed Joe Biden. And I was like, wow, this is on MSNBC. And then like, also after that, they were like, yeah, actually like, you know, we're going to talk about that and the possibility of him ever being president, because we've done polls, and behind Biden and Trump, the bookies, like literally bookies, all bookmakers have him as like third most likely person that people want to be president. Like, you know, just
absolutely win. He will absolutely win. And like, he probably won't go independent. I think he'll probably like, I really do think he'll probably be like a centrist leaning right Democrat if he were to do it. Like his policies are probably going to suck ass, but he'll probably win if he was to do it. He'll win on the Dem ticket though. Like like there's a cult of personality around him, the same way that there was Trump. And it's like all he has to do is get up there and do his fucking taglines, and he's automatically the most charismatic president of all time. Like it won't even matter. Like
State of Union will go crazy. That State of Union will be so good. Just go.
It doesn't matter what you think.
He'll hit the eyebrow. He'll hit the eyebrow.
He said, finally.
I might need this. I might need this now.
Also, like,
no, we don't need this. We need actual politicians.
Yeah, you guys just described idiocracy. That is literally what idiocracy was.
Oh man,
it's funny he has an endorsement. Like, does Bray Wyatt endorse someone for president? Like, does Drew McIntyre? Who's he endorsing? Like, the Rock endorses someone as if he's like a super PAC. Like,
and then the Rock's endorsement is actually more important than Vince McMahon's endorsement.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know Vince is like pissed. It's just like, yo, not only does he
put my wife out of work.
But he's like he can't do shit about it though. Like Vince can't do shit. So you know, it is what it is. I gotta go a little bit left to center because I've been watching a lot of New Japan lately.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, like, Hiroshi Tanahashi is probably my pick, man. Like that's he's one of the greatest Japanese wrestlers of all time, and much the same way as The Rock is. He's a cult of personality over there as someone who has been wrestling for over like 20 years. And, you know, like he might, again, and same with LeBron, like he might not always win, you know, he might not always win the title, but you know, he's going to be in the main event on January 4th without fail. So like, I've been watching a lot of New Japan, and, you know, amazingly at 39, 40 years old, he's still having the best matches on the card every single night in the G1 tournament. So I got to go with Hiroshi Tanahashi. That's just a shout out, cheap plug to the G show coming out this week.
Tap in. Me, this is probably obvious. I think everyone will pick this one, but I think it just makes sense to go Cena. I
no
think,
Otis?
Nah, Otis, not yet.
That's Kuzma.
But yeah, I mean, just looking at his career, like, you know, he came in, he was very, very likable, kind of young, and then quickly kind of shot to the top of the card and just stayed. And he's who everyone has to go through. Like, if you look at when the Spurs beat the Heat in 2014, like a Kawhi Leonard you could think of as Sheamus when Sheamus came and beat Cena for the title. And then like Steph Curry could be like Kevin Owens in 2015 when Kevin was beating Cena and Steph Curry beat Braun. So yeah, and just their charisma, just them as people, like they're very likable, they're very well respected. No one really has anything bad to say about them unless they just genuinely hate them, or they hate successful people. Like, obviously a lot of people turned on Braun when Braun went to Miami, but Braun started winning and people didn't like how he went about it. So yeah, I would say Cena. And then if we want to get into what?
Oh no, I was gonna say, not to mention them endorsements.
Endorsements.
Yeah. Endorsements.
Yeah.
That boy gone. That boy is out of here.
Yeah.
Out of here. He's out.
Yeah. So, and then factions. If you had to go a faction that you would liken the current Lakers team to, or just a tag team for LeBron and AD, you can give two answers if you want. What would your selections be?
I'd say the Authority. Faction. I think LeBron is Triple H, and you know, at the end of the day, come Mania season, Triple H gonna be there. And like, I think AD is basically Randy Orton. And you have like two mainstays, two like kind of pivotal things. Kind of like I was saying with the individual player comp, where it's like all season it's the Clippers this, the Bucks this. But it's like at the end of the day, there's no bad Authority storylines. Like at the end of the day, like most storylines that are most popping, even when it was like Stone Cold Vince. It's like the man versus the institution. And at this point, LeBron James is the institution. And like you can have these little upstarts try and come and take it. But at the end of the day, like even if you give Vince McMahon 10 Stone Cold Stunners, he still runs the company. And you can throw all you want at LeBron, but he's still running the NBA. Like it don't matter what y'all talking about. And so I think at the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to. Like break in case of emergency, you bring out LeBron and Lakers. You're gonna get ratings. People are gonna watch. You're gonna have good games. The Nuggets was cute. You know, it was a moment.
I just realized because of your analogy, that would mean that NBA players basically be on the court playing against the guy who like damn near signs their checks.
Yes, it's storyline. It's already written. This outcome is already written. It's not the Nuggets had no shot. It wasn't a game of chance. The ending was scripted.
LeBron said build more tension.
He said, "I'm going every series 5 games." He said, 5 games. I give you 5 games every series. That's all I can give you.
The fact he can. Bro, the fact that they've only lost 3 times, like that's not lost on me. Like a lot of people, the receipts have been receding lately. Like a lot of people said that there was no chance that this team was going to make it.
Portland's going to be a problem.
Like, bro, Portland's going to be a problem. Clippers going to be a problem. Listen, I'm in LA. The Clippers have never been a factor, and they're not a factor now. They weren't a factor when they got Kawhi. They have Clippers billboards all over the city where it's like earn, not given. And it's just like, who the fuck gave the Lakers anything?
What'd you earn?
What did you earn? Y'all lost.
They didn't earn anything. So like, it's funny to see that, and it's just wild to see how that imploded. But it's like again, like no one gave this team a shot. So I'm gonna have to say the faction that I would say is the New Day. Because nobody gave this team a shot either, and they said this was terrible, this is trash. They said, just hear us out, give us a chance. When they turned heel, that was when it switched. When they stopped the laughing shit, and when Xavier was like, "Yo, stop laughing, stop playing," that was the moment where it was like, "Yo, this is gonna be a different." And everyone was like, even to that point, everybody at that time was still like, "They're gonna be the new nation domination." I was like, "Bro, this don't look like no nation shit. They're not talking about nothing like that. This is them just being like, yo." We're going to be some silly-ass motherfuckers that are going to beat your ass and cheat while doing it. Like, I miss heel New Day so much.
Need it. We definitely need it. We definitely need it.
It was so good. Right. I think Xavier is such a great heel. Like, even when he brought up Francesca for the first time, he was using that to distract people. I thought Biggie was just a great antagonizing heel, and Kofi just being a cocky. We forget Kofi was actually a really solid heel at one point, and then they kind of, but obviously they're making more money as faces, so I can't knock them. But heel New Day was my jam back in the day.
That's a good one. I like that.
Do people remember that they were heels? I feel like people don't remember the New Day started off.
People remember like Xavier Woods being like quasi Hotep, and then they like just remember the Booty O's. Like it kind of like skips. It skips that part of the storyline.
Yeah, I think once their brand took off, that kind of got like wiped away. But it's funny, like when I see them wrestling, that's all I think about is their dynamic back then, like how like they use their heel nature to like come up with this style of wrestling, like the way they win matches and stuff like that. I thought that was so dope, and and
it's crazy.
Wrestle.
It's crazy because like the abdominal stretch that he does, where he slaps the opponent's ass. That was a heel move. He started it then, and now it's completely a face move. It's so crazy. I was just like, every time I see it, I'm like, bro, people hated when he did this back in the day, and now they freaking love it. And that just speaks to the greatness of that team, that faction, and that's why I would pick them as the staple faction that closely mirrors that.
That's a good choice. I'm so glad they stuck to that vision too. But speaking of people thinking that they were going to go nation domination, here's what I'm going to say. Bron and AD to me, so I didn't start watching basketball at all this season until like the Heat went up 3-1, whatever game that was. I think that was like just last week or whatever, or maybe I can't remember. But I had started watching again that game, so all I had been seeing was like little clips here and there, and then like some NBA marketing material and a lot of highlights. So even in just like the clips that I've seen from the last couple games of them, like what I think LeBron and AD are on right now is some APA stuff. These boys walk around like they will beat your ass. Like I saw AD's face, like they was playing the highlight. AD's face of that one game, he was crazy. I was like, yo, this nigga looks scared. Like I started thinking of that, and I'm like, oh, they kind of on the court, and then like also like thinking about the fact that what Channing said when he said like this is written in the script, like they're going to win or whatever. The same way I think about like whenever the APA shows up, they're just gonna beat your ass. Like there's nothing you're gonna do about it. They just about to whoop ass. So, like, that's how I see them.
Okay. Yeah, that's a goodie. I like the authority pick. I would say AD is more like Rollins, just because like Triple H handpicked Orton, but back when they were in Evolution. But I think like Triple H and Rollins now, because like LeBron's older and he handpicked AD to be his guy. I think that would align more with the authority. So yeah, that's my pick. Cool. Channing just jumped out because of his internet. I'm gonna pause it now. All right.
Wonderful. All right, I'd like to tell you guys a little story about a man from Bray, Wicklow County, Ireland. Goes by the name of Fergal Devitt, billed at 5'11", 190 pounds. He goes by many names, Prince Devitt being one of the more popular indie ones. Just a couple of accolades this guy's had. You know, he's just a man among boys. Two-time NXT champion, second longest reigning champion, was actually the first ever WWE wrestler to win the world title in his first pay-per-view match. The first ever Universal champion, I'm talking about no one other than the Abbed one himself, Finn Balor. Most of you know, Demon Kane. 2016,
King.
He wins his fatal four-way match, and then goes on to defeat Seth Rollins to become the first Universal Champion. He tore his shoulder labrum and had to relinquish the belt the following Monday. So I guess my first question to you, and I think it's a question a lot of people ask, is kind of what happens to Finn's kind of, I say just basically like kind of WrestleMania run up until that point. So for those of you who don't remember the ins and outs, he loses, or he gives up the title and lose it. And then Seth Rollins, have the match. That's where Triple H turns on Seth Rollins. That builds that Mania storyline. KO has kind of his sub-storyline with Jericho going on, but then also Goldberg in the periphery is having his thing with Brock where he's squashing him. Goldberg eventually challenges KO, wins that belt. KO goes on to face Jericho at Mania for the U.S. title, and then Brock goes on to face Goldberg at Mania for the Universal title. So there's kind of like three larger storylines. And actually, I think one more, honestly, I think Roman's storyline with Undertaker, I think, is also kind of impacted because of Finn's absence. That I think kind of all branch from that. So we'll go into that later. But I guess my first question to you is, like I said, going up into WrestleMania, kind of how do you think that plays out? Also, that's the year Randy won the actual Royal Rumble. So that plays into it too.
So for me, I would go first. I think, Finn doesn't get hurt. He holds on to the title. You can get an obvious rematch with Seth at that point, and you can still do the whole Triple H turning on Seth, perhaps. Seth looks like he's about to win, and then Triple H comes in and screws him, and then they have their side thing. I think KO is still super hot. Like he came up around 2015. He was beating Cena. He had that great run. So him and Finn, just we're both the new guys in WWE. We both came and kind of built NXT to what it was. Now we're here. Finn has the title, but I want it. So I think Finn and KO would have a really cool feud as well. I think KO with Jericho still as his best friend and lackey would be really annoying for Finn. You could get a couple really fun matches out of that. So yeah, I think the Rollins and KO feud would be where I would go first. And you can still build like Jericho and KO off of that too as well. Like Jericho's maybe jealous that like KO beats Finn, and then Jericho's jealous that KO has the title, and then KO again loses it to Goldberg or something. But you also wouldn't want to bury Finn that early because they were pushing him for a reason. Like he got drafted and immediately thrown into the mix for the new Universal Championship. So obviously they were trying to build him for a while. So maybe you give it to KO and then you ping pong it back to Finn. But I think you can still build to a lot of these storylines with Finn as the champion, defeating these guys and kind of interweaving these other people.
I think this is a 3- and 4-fold what if, because Finn getting hurt is one of the biggest what if scenarios in current WWE. Like, it's bigger than what if Roman didn't get suspended. It's bigger than, what if Seth's knee didn't blow out, because we know where that was going to go. He just moved it back a year. We knew where that was going to go. With Finn, it changed the entire landscape of that WrestleMania. Because let's be clear, and I just want to bring in a couple of actual factuals from like people that I know and stories that I read, leading up to this episode. According to Jericho, which, you could take this as you will, the actual Mania match was supposed to be he and KO for the Universal title, if that were to be believed. So that would mean that Finn would have lost it way before Mania anyway. But Seth and Triple H was always supposed to happen because it didn't happen the year before, and Seth had just got back. So I think we can go ahead and shoehorn Seth and Triple H. That turn doesn't happen until a lot later. So I think the first match you would have with Finn as champion is you would have that rematch with Seth. They Clash of Champions, I believe, that next month. I say the turn happens there, or either there or the night after on Raw, where Triple H finally turns on him like, "Yo, I'm, you're a failure. I can't even get you can't even get the belt off of Finn." I think Finn, and this is where I kind of deviate because it could go either way. Because let's be clear, Goldberg was only supposed to do one match at Survivor Series. He's a big linchpin to this too. If Goldberg decides not to come back after Survivor Series, this is moot. And this is right before Survivor Series that he signed. So that would mean that Goldberg would either have to beat Brock and go to WrestleMania because that means he signed, or lose to Brock and he's gone the next day. So again, that's a huge. I think we have to talk about the Goldberg conundrum before we talk about Finn, because that they felt as though that match needed the belt because we still got to place Brock somewhere. So I think really before we even blow out on Finn, where does Goldberg go? Because Goldberg did come back to beat KO. For the title at, what was it, Rumble that year, that next year?
Battleground?
Fastlane.
It was Fastlane. It was Fastlane that next year. So, where do you guys think that happens? Does Goldberg resign? Because if Finn's there, that massively changes what it is. Because if he signs there at Survivor Series, Finn's losing that belt to TLC.
Yeah.
To KO or something. He's losing. It's just the way that it's going to go. But if he doesn't resign, I say Finn keeps it to WrestleMania, and then he gets Brock. It's the demon versus the beast to me. Yeah. So I think we got to talk about Goldberg first.
I think Goldberg, I would say just based on seeing how Finn, since Finn came back and how he's just taking these matches he should not be taking and taking L's he should be taking. I think he takes that L like Goldberg stays. I think it hinges upon, to me, I think it might hinge upon a little bit too, Finn's ego. And knowing what I know about him now, he might have been cool enough to be like, yeah, I'll drop it or whatever. Yeah. But from that point on, though, the tough thing is because you push them so much, you have to keep them interesting. And I'm wondering, I feel like someone else that wasn't in the picture needs to get inserted at that point. And I don't know how that happens.
That's KO and Jericho. Because my next thought was after Clash of Champions at Hell in a Cell, because remember, Roman's off on a different plane. I believe he starts picking up mid-card titles at that point. Yeah. I say you do.
Yeah. Please face the Braun too sometimes.
Yeah. You do the Seth. You could do Seth, Roman, Finn in a triple threat.
Yeah.
And have because the thing is there you're still gonna get Finn being over. Seth and Roman still having their issues, Finn winning that match. But then what you do get on SmackDown, and that's another linchpin as well, you get AJ Styles versus Finn Balor finally, not at that random-ass TLC. You get them at Survivor Series proper, and you could get the Demon there. Again, it's a huge linchpin because a lot of people had Finn or a lot of people speculated Finn was probably going to lose it to KO. And the Hell in a Cell, I was like, no, there's no way that they would have him lose that fucking quick. It's only been 2 months. You got to have him in the year with it. So I think if Goldberg stays, for sure, they're going to try and get the belt off of him, maybe at Royal Rumble at that point. But you got to keep Finn strong and interesting. And at that point in Raw, we got to look at that roster. It was very top-heavy as far as top stars. And there was no mid-card that year.
I think that your point about AJ Styles is really one of my bigger points because if you look at Mania that year, AJ Styles faced Shane, which was whatever, but that's really the only match where I could see you feasibly just not having Shane in it. You're gonna have KO and Jericho on Maniac's card. You're gonna have Brock, you said, and Goldberg on the card. You can't take them off. You're not gonna take Roman off the card. I think honestly, I agree with you that he loses it most likely. In my opinion, it basically just like KO did. He loses it to Berg. But I think what the pivot is that I think you get AJ and Roman together, and then you have Finn face the Undertaker. And Demon versus Taker, and the whole instead of this is my yard, you're the next guy. And I think that's what you do with Finn, because Finn obviously can work, and he's a smaller guy, so you don't have to worry about Undertaker killing him because he dropped him on his head or something. And then you also get the storyline of yes, he did lose the title, but clearly he's facing Undertaker, so he's still a big deal. And it was still also in that time where people were fake. It was like cool to hate Roman still. So like you also like want to like show Roman, I think, in a favorable light too. So that's why I think when you give him styles, because like at the very least they'll have a good match, and you could do the whole thing like you're Vince's guy, but I've actually done it. Like I'm the guy people want you to be. Like you could have that storyline going, but we
know Roman was very easily hateable at that point because he got the wellness suspension, and that's why they were burying him into the ground at that point. I think Roman caught so many clean L's at that point. He caught more clean L's than any top guy I've ever seen in my life after the wellness thing that happened. Like remember he caught the fucking pedigree counter from the spear, and it was the first time we fucking saw that shit. I was like, oh, they're burying this motherfucker into the ground. He lost off that. He lost off that move.
He said, "Fuck you" to your finisher. Like you're not allowed your finisher, nigga. Like that's crazy.
and then again, like we got to shout out Roman at that point too, because he gave Finn that rub on that Raw. Like there would be no Finn push, and you know a lot of people say like NXT call ups. There's Finn. Like obviously in the way that it did, but I think Finn's at the top of that list, and you got to kind of say like either Oscar or Keith Lee are like next up in that you know, and my thing is like the Keith Lee thing is overblown. Like who gives a shit about the theme? Who gives a shit about the gear? This motherfucker beat Randy Orton in his first match. He hasn't taken a clean loss. He might have lost like a multi-man match, but like whatever. He's still positioned to be the world champion by the end of this year, and I think they're gonna do it. So like I think like as far as NXT call-ups, Keith might be a little bit more measured than Finn. Finn was just like, all right, buddy,
the guy,
you're out of here, like you're gone. But like you know, people like Keith Lee, like you know, that sets the standard. So I again like thinking about this what if Finn thing, we got to think about what this does for NXT call-ups and what kind of the perception of the NXT call-up is after Finn Balor, because he was the number one draft pick. He was the number one guy like at that point.
I think what's also interesting thing about with Finn is kind of like my next question is like, say like, you know, hypothetically speaking, for whatever reason, he doesn't lose the Mania match. Like he goes on, he beats Brock or whatever. Like all the different other matches he could have with people. Like I think you have some really cool opportunities to use Finn as like, because he has the whole indie thing. Like I think that's what's one thing that's good about Finn too, is that like he has that indie respect. He has this really high work rate. Like people like him, and so you can pair him with basically anybody. And so like it'd be cool to see like, oh, maybe let's see Finn versus Braun, or let's see Finn versus Shinsuke. Like give people like try and win over, especially because like this is like right before AEW is like becoming a thing. And so like maybe if Vince would have taken this opportunity to kind of appeal to some of the more like, you know, indie wrestling Twitter heads, he might have also like, you know, helped him in long running of the company too.
So where are we thinking that are we going with the idea that it was supposed to be KO and Jericho? Because I think that if Goldberg comes back, that implodes. That's not happening whatsoever. Yeah. That's not happening at all. We're gonna get the Roman KO Jericho feud as was planned during that, and it will have KO. It will end with KO actually getting the title in the end, and them having the feud over the title. Like if Goldberg doesn't stay, I think Finn loses it in Royal Rumble to KO and Jericho in some type of triple threat match or something where like Jericho helps KO win the Universal title. I do think KO will win the Universal title.
Interesting.
I see that happening too.
I saw the opposite. I thought KO was gonna be a big loser if like Finn kept it. I thought KO might actually like not gonna bury Kevin Owens, but like I think it would have hurt his trajectory the most of anyone.
I think so. I think the reason why I wanted to see, like, and I think that the KO would win it, whatever. KO with the belt, he can tell a lot of good stories without the belt, obviously. Like, we see, like, you can pretty much have him feud with anybody for any reason, and KO's going to kind of make it interesting. But KO with the belt isn't a different situation, because a lot of the times, like, he's just, like, you know, fight Owens, fight, and it's just like, you know, he's just out there to fight, period. But now that you have the belt, you have like a reason for things. Like it's just thing he has to guard, so that gives like a different level to it. And I think that just, I don't know, I think that sets the stage for like some stuff that we've never seen from Kevin Owens to have possibly happened. Like I know there's like a parallel universe where Kevin Owens gets that, and then there's like we just see him, like even the matches that he puts on, like they're just different or whatever than I've personally got to see from him, just because of the story is different.
Speaking of KO, like, how do you guys feel about KO's run with the Universal title? It's kind of off topic, but I feel like there's very mixed reviews on it.
The term "run" is a strong word. It wasn't really a run. It was it felt like you said, because Goldberg decided he was going to stay around. It felt like they were like, "Oh, never mind." Like Kevin, give us back. Like he just kind of was like a placeholder. That's how I felt.
Yeah, and that's why I said that, because like I never got the feeling of feeling like, damn, KO is a champion. Like I never felt like that ever. So.
Yeah, I think his run was snake bit from the beginning, and obviously, like I said, Finn's injury was the linchpin for this whole generation to change. I think he was always booked as an undeserving champion, whether that be of his fault or someone else's. I think the big loss there was that, and I know people were going to bring this up. I'm shocked we haven't brought this up earlier. The Triple H connection was never, ever explained.
Yeah.
And I think that was a major reason why the actual thing made no sense, because they had to hot shot the Triple H Seth Rollins thing immediately and then drop it so that they could stretch it out to Mania. But also they had to have Triple H just completely disappear altogether and not address it. So I think like if KO joins the Authority, it's a different storyline. But we got to remember, we had a whole year of that a year earlier of Randy Orton and then Sheamus doing the exact same thing. We didn't want that anymore. So I'm kind of glad they foresaw that and said, we're not going to go that way with KO. So I think as far as his run, he had some really good matches with Roman. I thought the Shark Cage match was pretty dope. I thought they killed themselves in those Extreme Rules matches that they had. It was Extreme Rules. Was it the Hell in a Cell? They didn't know. Seth had the Hell in a Cell with KO, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Roman had what was the match in January? It was was that still the Shark Cage match?
It was a no DQ match. So the Shark Cage, yeah.
The Shark Cage was at Rumble, yeah.
That's a Rumble, yeah.
That match was a banger. I think people sleep on that match. That KO killed himself to get that match over. It was a very good match. I don't think it was for lack of KO trying. I think the booking really did do him a disservice there, because they never booked him in a strong way whatsoever, especially with Jericho there. You literally knew how the match was going to end every single time. And I was one of the people that wasn't too mad about him losing to Goldberg. I was like, listen, I know he looked pretty pissed when it was happening, and that looked like legit anger from him when he had to drop it to Goldberg. But I was like, you're going to be so much better. He literally got the U.S. title right after that. It didn't hurt him too badly there. And then he gave us one of the greatest segments of all time in Festival of Friendship. But then you give us that Mania match with Jericho. So, like, I can't really say I'm too upset, because imagine if he has the Universal title and he's on at 10:30 where people are tired and he gives us that match.
Oh, Jesus.
We have a different perception of KO today if that happens. So,
I'm so glad it's too nice now, man. It's soft. I'm so glad it's too nice. That was WrestleMania being up to like 1 a.m, watching that triple threat with Becky. I was like, Becky, I know this is a good match, but like, I'm tired, dog.
Yeah. I hope they do it next year. I hope they do it again next year. I hope it is a continuing thing. My fiance asked me the other day, like, is Mania still coming here? And I was just like, well, Sophie's open. I don't know what type of deal they could do where they could still do this, but the stadium's open now. So, I mean, I don't know if they do like very limited seating house of the big event. I do wonder how far ahead of COVID we would be at that point.
I don't know. Half the states just went up with it.
Yeah.
Looking scary out here.
It's that Labor Day push.
Kids going back to school, college football, all that stuff. Like, because I'm in Tallahassee, so I've literally seen how just college football coming back. Because it's the alumni who are like, the kids are going to be the kids. They're always going to be bad. But the people down here, they take this very seriously. So, like, people have visited, I can tell, from, like, different towns in Florida to come up and just watch the games. And they've been at tailgates and stuff. So, a lot of stuff is happening, too. So, it's like –
let's jump back into Finn, though, because there are still a lot of, like – there are a lot of moving parts, like J5 has been alluding to a lot, like – trying to think what else.
One thing I think you could have gotten, like, obviously this is a whole Brock buy-in thing, but just I like watched a little bit of their match from 2019, like Finn and Brock. Like, I think you could have gotten a good feud out of that. Like, I think Brock, kind of like you saw with Daniel Bryan too, he can really go with like these smaller guys who can work. And I think if you could have got Brock to commit to it, that would have really been a way to show, like, for Vince to be like, no, this is the guy. Like, because even you think about it now, Brock doesn't really have like long feuds with anyone. He has like feuds with Rollins, feuds with Roman, and then like that's kind of it. And so like if he would have had an actual like storyline feud with Finn over like multiple pay-per-views that led up to Mania, even losing, I think that would have really put Finn over, being like, oh, like even Brock takes him seriously.
Yeah, I think that's my coronation right there, and people don't see that a Brock match, win or lose to you, is a coronation in some way, shape, or form. It really is. It shows that he trusts you enough to work with you, and he wants to work with you. I think that's where Finn ends up if Goldberg doesn't stay. And in my heart of hearts, it's like I love Goldberg in his matches that he had with Brock at that time. But I'm in my thought process of Finn not getting hurt. Goldberg doesn't stay because he's looking right now. He's like, y'all have a champion. Y'all don't need me. Like you have Finn and you're building him at this point. I don't need to stay. I'm good with this first match. And for 2K, because that's where he came back for, was for the 2K game that came out that year. So I'm good with that, and I'm out. I'm going to take my check and leave. I think it ends up being the Demon versus the Beast at WrestleMania if Goldberg doesn't stay. But the thing about it is that people are going to be pissed, but Brock is going to beat the Demon. That's the story. Yeah, they don't want to see that. Like, it's going to be another streak broken. And leading up to that match, the story is the Demon has never been beaten, ever. The Demon beat Seth Rollins. You could bring the Demon out on the Hell in a Cell match, triple threat between, or you could bring the Demon out against AJ Styles to even up the stakes. The Demon's beating the WWE champion. The Demon's never beaten, Brock, and then you have Paul Heyman say, "This is a spoiler. Beasts beat demons." You know what I'm saying? We're not scared of ghosts.
My God,
we're not scared of people under the bed. We don't care about demons. And then
take that makeup off, Finn.
Exactly, and people are going to be upset. I think the match goes 4 minutes. I think Finn does the hits, does the coup de grace. Brock pops up, F5 is over. That's perfect. Because think about where Brock goes that next year. Like, think about his run that next year when he gets the title back. He runs right back into Roman. That's the story. That is the overarching story. Finn had his time. He can go to SmackDown at that point. Because the thing about it is like Finn lost so much time, and there were so many guys that, in my opinion, weren't really like that deserving of being over him. I think Finn was so much more deserving than what he got. It's just that you're snake bit. And I think people look at it like, and they want to blame WWE and they want to blame booking, but this is wrestling. This is a wrestling business. There's very few times where someone gets hurt unless you're Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he's the only exception to the rule where you come back in the same spot where you left at. That's literally it. Everyone, no one comes back in the same spot. Even when Seth came back earlier that year, he did not get hot shot at the belt immediately. He was literally on the upper mid card for a minute. Even if you look at Seth after he lost to the Fiend, he was not in that picture for a very long time. No one comes back after injury and gets back into the same position. It just doesn't happen. And people thinking that's real is just what it is. Like, I know I'm going to bring up the Kofi thing. That might be sore for some people, maybe on the call or maybe listening, but it's the same deal there. It's like no one comes back to say, like, when you lose to Brock, it's a rite of passage. You just go on. You're a made man at that point. And with Finn, he just got snake bit. And he was out for so long, y'all. Like, he was out for like a year.
Yeah.
His first match was until March of the next year.
That's a lifetime in WWE time. You know what I'm saying? Like, Seth had been injured and came back before Finn actually came back, bro. Like, it's insane how long he was gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's absolutely nuts.
It'd been interesting too, because speaking of Seth, like if you get Finn on that track where like, okay, he loses to Brock, and now like, oh, who is Finn in a tag team with where he wins the Raw tag team titles? Because that seems to be what like inevitably would happen. Like, would you pair him with like Braun and have like the whole Big Little thing, or like it would just be interesting to see like giving the blueprints of we see guys like Roman, AJ, like you lose a big title off TV for a couple months, come back and you have some new angle. Like, what would Finn have done in his like post title run?
He would have won US. He probably would have won US.
He hasn't won it yet, right?
No, he's won Intercontinental.
Okay.
Yeah. He hasn't won a tag title.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of accolades, but none of the ones that people like look at on paper that are like important. But like he's only missing 2 belts before he actually could get a Grand Slam. He's missing a tag title and he's missing the US title.
I remember there was like, I think when he returned, they put him in a tag team with Hideo Itami. I think they brought him up. So that would have been a fun tag team to run for the titles. I think around that point. Like,
but think of where Hideo was at that point, Armand. Think of where he was. His stock was gone, and he's probably the biggest example of how injuries can snake bite your career. Him and the Revival. The Revival were starting off hot as hell. They beat the New Day. They had beaten the Usos. Then bruh got injured, and they were gone for 6 months. And it was cold. There was just no way. They had got leaping. And then, mind you, WWE doesn't care about tag teams as it is. Yeah. So for them to have put that much into them, that was it. But Hideo Itami, gone for a year, was supposed to win the title that summer, comes back, is injured on a house show, and isn't seen for another 9 months. Jeez. I know people love the narrative that WWE ruined him. I can think of 5 people off top that they ruined. One of them would not be Hideo Itami. It just happens. It's the way the cookie crumbles. And the people don't remember. I was a huge Kenta fan when I was in high school and when I was in college. He's never been healthy. He's injury prone. He's got a bad knee. He's got a bad shoulder. All of that stuff exasperates when you have a schedule where you wrestle every single week. So if he was getting injured, he only wrestled once or twice a month. Every single day, fuck yeah, he's gonna get injured. That's how it is.
So if not Hideo, then who else? Braun. I'm trying to think who else would be a good partner for Finn at that time.
Post Seth beating Triple H, it'd probably be Seth.
Okay.
They were tagging when Finn came back.
It's true.
It would probably be Seth. I would say have Seth and him win tag titles, and then have them go off and feud to I don't know if the Intercontinental would have been there at that point. I forgot who got traded over with it. Was it Miz?
Dean.
With the was Dean traded?
Yeah. Dean got traded, and then he lost it to Miz.
Corbin. Yeah, he beat Baron Corbin at Mania. So yeah, it was Dean.
Yeah, Dean got traded, and then Miz beat him in that by disqualification and got the title.
Okay. Oh yeah. So I think we would have actually got that Intercontinental feud earlier.
Sooner, yeah.
We got it, yeah. So yeah, it would. I think it either would have been Seth. But then again, we got to think. Will WWE see Finn as a success, and Vince look at NXT a little bit differently and say, let's call up some of these people that are down there right now and purgatory, and they need to get called because Shinsuke got called up that year, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe Shinsuke goes to Raw instead because he saw the Finn project worked so well. Maybe I won't put him on SmackDown where there at that point was considerably less stars, but he still had AJ. It was it was the AJ show at that point.
Right.
Maybe he does his call up was so influential to I think the way the company sees NXT call ups, and that's why a lot of them were so wrong and mishandled at that point because they were afraid to put their dollars behind someone who was not going to show up, who was not going to be there, and who was going to get injured. I think that really was a perception changer when Finn got injured.
Yeah.
You could also pair him back with Joe again. I think that would be cool too.
Oh yeah, Joe did get called up.
Yeah, you could kind of run that back as he could even be the whole thing's we are the top NXT guys. We can take on any main roster guys you set up against us and have that kind of thing. And then eventually, obviously, they break up, and then you have Joe Finn, a match at some point, even if it's not for a title. I think that would be fire.
I really liked when they put Finn with Carl Anderson and Gallows. He was kind of acting like a tweener and messing around with Roman and Jason Jordan and Seth because Dean was hurt at that point. I thought maybe if Finn turned heel after he lost to Brock and was becoming an asshole and then had Gallows and Anderson as his heaters, that would be something that could build him back up to the title picture.
Well, they did that. They kind of flirted with that. Remember when they were
didn't commit to it though.
Yeah,
and they didn't commit to it. And I thought because remember that one Raw where he had beat he didn't lose. He had beat somebody, and the club had helped him. And he remembered there's that wonderful picture of him backing up with Gallows and Anderson behind him. I forgot who he beat at the main event of that. Man, Finn was in a lot of Raw main events.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that was the Roman Seth Jason Jordan match. Jason Jordan messed it up for them, and then and then Roman caught the corner shotgun, and then
Hey, Finn's beat Roman a lot too. I hope Mills is listening because he always says Finn is a loser. Finn ain't no loser, bro.
Nah, Finn was getting a lot. He just wasn't getting title matches, but he was getting a lot when he came back.
Finn's very streaky. It's when he's winning, Finn is winning a lot. But when he's losing a lot. There's no back and forth with Finn.
Even still, he was the king of the 50-50, right? So Andrade would beat him one week, then he beat Andrade 2 times in a row the next week.
Yeah, that's true.
somebody beat him 1 week on some BS. Then he beat him again the next week. Like they never really knew. I call this like the Aleister Black phenomenon as well.
My goodness.
He's falling into that a little bit as well. And I've always said like on the A show, like they're just saving him for something, and then it's like it becomes very readily apparent that they're not really knowing what to do or what to save him for because they've got other guys that they got to get over there. But it's just like you could easily slot. Like I was saying the same thing in 2017, 2018, 2019. You could easily slot Finn in there, and he'd go crazy. It'd be perfect. And they only slot Aleister in with in random feuds, and then he'll disappear for 2 weeks, and then he'll come back, and then he'll win, and then he'll leave. And that's what Finn was doing for like a whole year, was doing random feuds. Remember the Jinder Mahal thing?
Oh my God,
bruh.
It was so weird.
That's the whole episode in itself. Just remember the Jinder Mahal thing. That was like a thing. Like he legitimately beat Randy Orton like 3 times. Like, do you remember that? With the Punjabi prison match? Like, yeah, when Great Khali came out for no reason.
But here's my thing.
For a 3-minute check.
Yeah.
But here's my
check
thing,
for 3 minutes.
And this might be crossing into maybe another season, y'all. Who the fuck was gonna win it if not for Jinder? The more we think about it,
I love the modern day Maharaja. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I'm a huge. I like that.
It worked on me.
Funny. So it's funny. So that's like I tell the guys all the time. Like when I had a falling off period, and that actually was like around the time that I was like weekly getting back to it. So I just came back and I was just like, why is everyone mad at this new guy Jinder Mahal? I was just back to it. I was just like, I don't know why everyone's mad, but he has everyone pissed, and this is amazing. And then I saw him in the limo with the title out, and I was like, yes. How ridiculous it is. Make it more ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah, especially because Baron won the Money in the Bank, and I don't think anyone believed he was going to successfully cash in to win that. Nope. Maybe someone did. I didn't. I was like, nah. I don't know what they're going to do with this, but Baron's not going to be the one to cash in, and not on Jinder. Like they seem to love Jinder too much.
Even WWE smartened up. Even they smartened up, and they were just like, "Wait a minute, this nigga's facing Brock." No.
AJ finally.
They saw that Survivor Series graphic. They said, absolutely not.
It didn't even look right. It didn't even look right.
Not at all.
Honestly, speaking of injuries, I think it would have been interesting because he came back for Raw and then faced Drew once and then got hurt again. I think if they would have kind of ran back the 3MB thing with Drew and Heath and him, I think that would have been interesting because now they're all super jacked and don't look anything like those 3 people. I think that would have been a cool little couple week storyline too.
Yeah.
So Finn at this point, I kind of want to talk about. He's NXT champion. He's been back for I think a year now. He's been back, and he was kind of floundering for a point. He had some good matches. Yeah. Riddle. Velveteen.
He got Fiend, dog. He got Fiend.
Yeah.
Fiend sent him out the territory. That's crazy.
Yeah, my God.
Sent him back home to NXT.
Yeah, this is sent him running. He's champion now, and I'm really excited for the Kyle O'Reilly match, and whatever they do with that, and however long he's
this
there.
Sunday.
This Sunday. But I think he is definitely going to come back to the main roster. So, at this point, with this crop of talent we have with heel Roman, with Drew being super over, Keith Lee doing his thing, Riddle, King Corbin, who really needs to drop that gimmick because I think it's been over a year now that he's been doing the King thing. It's kind of getting old. But which show would you put Finn on, and what direction would you want to take him?
Wow.
It's interesting because there's very little baby faces. I'm trying to think of who's the top baby face. It's Drew, I guess. But do I really want to see Finn Drew?
But Finn is and Finn can't really be a tweener on the main roster. They don't do a lot of tweeners like that. Yeah, he'd have to be a solid. He'd have to be a face. I just don't want Finn coming back as the same person.
Yeah, I don't either.
Left.
Yeah,
you probably end up having to not turn Randy, but you have to somehow make Randy more of a baby face, and that's probably the match you have is Finn and Randy being you are this legacy XYZ guy, but I'm the guy who actually got it out the mud and earned it, and you're the everything that's wrong with WWE. So it's all about your name, and you're not me.
Unless you go completely left, bring him back on SmackDown as a heel, and have him help AJ Styles. And then they become tag champions. And finally do that. But but here's the thing. They're silly champions.
Okay.
Like AJ's silly now, they're silly champions, and Finn's doing kind of like the halfway
like
serious,
DX-ish.
like they're
DX. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's how because you got to think about it.
That's true.
AJ doesn't have much long. He does not have long.
Yeah.
I think this is his last deal. He already works very, very little. He does not work every pay-per-view. He does not work every SmackDown. This is his last contract. Give him what he wants. I am 100% sure he wants this. I know
he needs the tag belts too, right? To be Grand Slam.
Yes, he needs the tag belts. And I say it's either going to be him or Joseph Parker's going to be his tag team partner, which would be fucking hilarious if that happened. But I say you bring him back and you do a semi-Bullet Club thing with Finn Balor. That's how you introduce him back to the main roster. And then you have Finn. He can either turn, he can stay heel, whatever you want to do. But I don't see an opportunity for him on Raw right now with the way that they book like Alistair and the way that they book. There are Ricochet even. There are too many guys like Finn on that roster for Finn to succeed. Then you can run back Matt Riddle. You can run back, Corbin stuff. You can run back a lot of stuff there. But honestly, like Corbin needs to be running away from the Fiend by the top of 2021. That's what he needs to be doing.
Yeah,
I would love.
He said, "Hey, I need to come see you, dog. You need to come see about you, dog."
So you got anything you want for Finn?
Honestly, so yeah, the tag is what I want to see, and the AJ Styles one, I didn't even see that coming. That actually is the one that I want because what I think is misunderstood. Like, well, I don't think. All right, that was just a weird generalization that came out of nowhere. So, what I can say is I don't see a lot of appreciation for is like Finn is really, really good at making whoever he's in the ring with look good or whatever, and like that happens when he's versus someone. So I'm like, what would that look like if he's like next to somebody? Like, I love the way he works because he can cooperate a lot, like with people. He knows how to it's this weird thing where he can just tap into whatever that person is and just instantly have chemistry with them. Like he figure out their pace and all that other stuff. So to see him do that constantly in different creative ways as a tag team, I think that would work really well with AJ Styles. I would also see like, if we go like the super duper flippy route, Ricochet, I would just want to see how crazy that gets. Whatever, but the thing about Finn is I can see him paired with like almost any kind of person. Like there's no one that I can't see him not paired with. It would be really cool. And then another one that was mentioned earlier is him with Seth Rollins. I would have loved to see like multiple matches of them working together because they both have something like I love like just the work that they do and the ideas that they come with. Seeing them work together and do that, like that would just be crazy. Like I think those are my two, like AJ and Seth. Like I would love to see.
And I think much like I had mentioned earlier, Finn's second call up, him being an advocate for the call ups after him. Finn has to be the advocate again when he's called up again. So he would be the advocate for these new guys as well. So again, like he has another responsibility that like, and I don't know if it's unfair on him. I don't know if, I'm putting something unfair on him, but he would be the one that would be showing Vince and Bruce and everyone on the main roster, this is what I had to work with down here. This is how we work. So if you give me the ball and I run with it, you got to bring him up here because that's who I work with, and that's Damian Priest. You got to bring him up here because that's who I work with. That's Adam Cole. You got to bring him up here. That's who I work with. That's Kyle O'Reilly. He is the advocate for like, okay, these guys are ready because I faced them. I've seen them. They're ready. So I think, again, Finn the second coming is going to be very different from Finn the first coming. And I know like this was like it was a weird moment. It was like the first big NXT call-up ever. But I think this one is going to be the most meaningful one ever because you see where Keith Lee's going. Finn Balor's coming back and saying, yo, this is what NXT looks like now. This is what I learned there. Is going to be something very beneficial to that brand.
I think y'all just both independently booked something together. So I think Channing, oh, man, I almost just forgot. Channing, when you were talking about Finn battling with Randy Orton, so that could be Randy Orton's motivation, and like that would kind of make him face or whatever, because Finn would come up and he would be that advocate, and Randy would be like, I've been here a while. You don't just get to say like people are, and then that's how you bring. Like I would say that would be.
I
crazy.
never left.
Like,
I never left, Randy. I never got to go to Orlando because I mean, if you think about it, it's been reported for about a year now that Randy wants to work with Ciampa. He wants to work with NXT talent. Finn is Finn could be the advocate to be like, you know what, Randy's right. Let's grab Damian Priest. Let's grab, Kushida. Let's grab all these people. Let's have them work with some of the guys up top because it's time for that. It's really time for that. And so that's why I think, like, for as much as Finn was showing the possibilities of what it could be for NXT call-up, Finn the Second Coming could be showing how you actualize that into something that is that won't be snake bit by an injury. And for Finn, the stakes will be much lower. He won't be expected to carry a brand when he comes back. He'll be instead, he's almost 40. He'll be expected to lead these people into the next generation, and I think that's where he's best suited for the time being.
So funny we say all this, and like he's actually going to end up being the leader of Retribution. He'll like
that would be fucking incredible.
It'll be like.
Speaking of Retribution, like people's perceptions of them are slowly changing now that they're getting these tweets off. They was barring up Chris Jericho, T-Bar.
Yeah, Twitter fingers, dog. He put that man in the coquina clutch, dog. Like that man was about to pass out.
I love it.
Titty Bar, aka Dijak, aka Dijakovic. He's always been good at the Twitter. He's a Twitch streamer. Mm-hmm. Retribution is literally just a bunch of Twitch streamers. Look at all the members. They all use Twitch. That's why they know how to talk to. That's how they know how to talk to these people online. They've been waiting to do this. Dijak goes off about the dirt sheets all the time on his Twitch. This is just his character actualizing it. My big issue here is that I am afraid, or I'm 95% sure that these Twitter personalities are not going to translate onto the TV show.
Oh, absolutely not.
They're not.
No.
So I think they're going to have to get over, and they're smart because they're saying we're going to have to get over by getting the fans that are lapsed or they're a little bit more tougher on us than usual, winning them over so that any stupid shit that they write for us, we can just make it up on Twitter whenever it's over with, because that's where they don't have any control over is our Twitters. So I think that they're walking a very delicate balance beam where they could go either way. They could tip too far and be way too crazy on Twitter and have Vince be like, all right, tone it down. Y'all can't tweet no more. Or they could go to the other way where their actual Twitter personalities enhance the show in a way that no other talent has. And I think I want them to kind of tone it down a little bit so that the higher ups don't notice, even though I'm pretty sure that they probably do notice. Like they have someone that's always scouring Twitter for them anyway. But I'll see what happens on Monday. I'll say that their actions after Monday's Raw, which was to me one of the worst episodes of the year,
horrendous,
was very. It went a long way in kind of making up what their actions was. Because I said it, on the show, I was like, that Raw. If that Retribution shit didn't happen on Raw, that Raw would have just been a middle of the road, go home show. It would have just been a regular ass show. It wouldn't have been terrible. It wouldn't have been good. It would have been middle of the road. Retribution was the reason why everyone hated that Raw, because they had so many segments. They had like 5-6 segments during the whole show, but we had to deal with their dumbass faces, their dumbass masks, their dumbass names.
Who's in costume? Who was in these masks? Me and him kept falling off. I'm like, what? The Fiend wrestles in that full thing. Like every match, and
hot,
she couldn't get her mask. Sweaty. She couldn't get her mask to stay on. Like Kane's mask was in that in the '90s. Kane was doing that in like '95. Had that mask on, very secure. I know y'all can make a mask.
So Channing, get better mask. Get better mask for Monday, and we're good. Better mask for Monday, and we're good.
I don't ask for a lot.
and I know we talk about the names. I do think the name thing is overblown. We sat here and talked about a motherfucker named Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin. Like, these are not real names. Like, these are terrible names. If I was to name my child that, you guys would bomb on me for fucking years, right? So, like, the name thing in wrestling is overblown. I think presentation is where it matters. Yeah. Because we could have the dumbest name ever. We stand Hulk in Animal, R.I.P. Like, we stand Kamala. Like, these are not, real, like, we stand Big E. That's not a cool name at all. Like, these aren't cool names.
I looked up to a guy whose name is The Rock. Like, that's ridiculous.
Just The Rock. Nobody in wrestling has cooler name than Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's just a cool name because it's almost kind of like an anagram. Like, it's a cool name because of that. But like, like the name thing, I'm like, whatever. Teabag, T-Bar, fucking Slapnut, whatever the guy's name is. Like, these are all like, these are just names. They're gonna get over it. And honestly, I don't think they're gonna keep those names anyway. So like, that is what it is. But Retribution, we'll see. On Monday, we will see. We're going into Survivor Series season, Hell in a Cell season. We're going to see what happens.
All right. Channing, you got any final thoughts on Finn?
No. I just think he is. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, 5 years from now, we're saying Roman's top heel of this kind of like era, and he was the top face. Because I think while he doesn't need to be a face, Finn, like, I think he has such like crossover appeal, international appeal. Like, he just has so much respect from all these different people. Like, if placed well and not injured, Finn can be John Cena, basically, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a face that people believe in. He's a face people like, that they want to support. I don't think he was really forced on us enough to where we could get tired of him like people did with Seth when Seth was Universal Champion, or Cena when Cena was super popular. Like, I think Finn is still someone that we can kind of ride with and ride for. So I think him versus heel Roman would be very, very fun.
Yeah, I think Seth's downfall is that Seth's voice is really annoying, and like, so when he talks, it's like really whiny, whereas Finn has like that cool kind of like Peaky Blinders like accent where it's like, yeah, he's cool. Like, he can say anything. He's like,
he's
where's
a
the
good-looking guy, man. He's just a good-looking guy, bro. Like, he's got the look.
A leather jacket, like.
Yeah, like I don't think they don't push Finn on us enough. Honestly, I don't feel like they got behind him enough, and that's why I was so glad to see the NXT go all in on him and never have him lose and never have him get beat, and have his, or if he did lose, it was meaningful. So I mean, I think again, like, it's all in positioning. I think he's the perfect example of how positioning and presentation can create a star. And he had grassroots support like CM Punk did from the moment he stepped into the place. So he will never be universally disliked ever.
Right.
It's just impossible to dislike Finn Balor. Like, he's gonna go down the Hall of Fame as one of the most likable superstars that we've ever seen in these past 10 years. That's just what it is. Like, you can never hear a bad story about the guy. He's always stayed loyal. He stayed, he's done whatever they've asked him to do. The only guy to be on, like, he went up and he was like the first person to go back down. You know what I'm saying? So like, he's somebody that's just an incredible superstar, and he's still one of my favorites. So I'm gonna hope that we get again, Finn the second coming. Let's just hope that it shakes out a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. J5, I want to thank you again for joining us, man. It means so much. As I said, you guys can catch him on the A Show, Late Fees, everywhere, Ramen Talk, and just
the G Show,
on Twitter.
Yeah, got the tree job.
You can find him battling wrestling Twitter and giving music takes as well at OG Johnny 5 on Twitter. Make sure to follow us at Rewriters and RNC. Follow Channing at Grandpa Chan, 2 N's at the end of Chan. CC is still battling Twitter's policies, so hopefully we will get his account soon. You can follow me at Armand Sadler. Make sure to like, subscribe, all of the RNC content. And once again, thank you for joining the Rewriters Room. Enjoy Clash and Monday Night Raw.